Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Someone who keeps a diary or journal. A writer for newspapers and magazines. Someone who keeps a diary or journal. Someone who keeps a diary or journal. Writes, books or stories or articles or the like, professionally, for pay. A person who is able to write and has written something. Someone who originates or causes or initiates something. Writes, books or stories or articles or the like, professionally, for pay. Be the author of. She authored this play. A journalist employed to provide news stories for newspapers or broadcast media. A journalist employed to provide news stories for newspapers or broadcast media. A journalist employed to provide news stories for newspapers or broadcast media. Informal terms for journalists. A journalist who presents a story primarily through the use of photographs. Someone whose occupation is printing. A journalist employed to provide news stories for newspapers or broadcast media. A journalist who writes editorials. A journalist who writes about sports. A writer whose handwriting is careless and hard to read. Informal terms for journalists. Someone employed to make written copies of documents and manuscripts. French playwright, 1791 to 1861. A sharp pointed awl for marking wood or metal to be cut. Informal terms for journalists. Score a line on with a pointed instrument, as in metalworking. A geographical dictionary, as at the back of an atlas. A journalist who writes for a gazette. A journalist who writes editorials. A journalist who specializes in sentimental stories. Someone who communicates by means of letters. A journalist employed to provide news stories for newspapers or broadcast media. Similar or equivalent in some respects though otherwise dissimilar. A journalist who writes about sports. A journalist who broadcasts on radio or television. English diarist whose diary contained detailed descriptions of 17th-century disasters in England, 1633 to 1703. English diarist whose diary contained detailed descriptions of 17th-century disasters in England, 1633 to 1703. United States journalist who advocated liberal causes, 1907 to 1989. United States journalist who reported on the October Revolution from Petrograd in 1917, founded the Communist Labor Party in America in 1919, is buried in the Kremlin in Moscow, 1887 to 1920. Welsh journalist and explorer who led an expedition to Africa in search of David Livingstone and found him in Tanzania in 1871. He and Livingstone together tried to find the source of the Nile River, 1841 to 1904. United States journalist whose exposes in 1906 started an era of muckraking journalism, 1866 to 1936. United States journalist whose exposes in 1906 started an era of muckraking journalism, 1866 to 1936. United States journalist, 1889 to 1974. French physicist who developed the first color photographic process, 1845 to 1921. United States journalist and literary critic, 1880 to 1956. Muckraking United States journalist who exposed bad conditions in mental institutions, 1867 to 1922.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.